everybody doing today? Here I am on the grounds of what used to be called the Blue Beacon Truck Wash. I'm going to tell you the story of the West Memphis Three, and I'm going to do it in a way that I can, the best way I can, which is I'm going to give you the basics. This is a big case. There's so many people involved, so many locations involved. I find, and a lot of you have probably seen the documentaries, a movie made about it with Reese Witherspoon. There's been so much about this case. It's everywhere. Johnny Depp, Natalie Maines, Eddie Vedder, various celebrities are involved with it. So what I want to do is, I'm going to show you some of the locations, but when you hear West Memphis Three, it's referring to the three teenagers that were falsely accused. Some say still that they did do it. They're out of prison now after serving 18 years. Now, the West Memphis Three refers to them. But for me, the West Memphis Three should refer to the three boys. The 3 8-year-old boys that were murdered right over here. So I'm going to show you the locations, tell you what happened to the boys, and then encourage you to read more about the case. And you can read about other suspects. I'm going to take you to a place where one suspect was seen. Talk a little bit about the 3 teenage boys that were accused. But I mean, there's family members. There's other teenagers in the town. There's a whole this story has so many layers. It would take hours. Now, one thing, back in the 90s and 80s, there's something called the Satanic Panic, which was going around, which I'm jumping right across right now. That's where the truck wash used to be. I'll get into that in a moment. But the Satanic Panic was people believing that there are people worshiping the devil, secret societies, things like that, and it was all about Jenny Jones, Geraldo, and all that sort of thing. That's basically what happened here. This town got caught up in this is West Memphis, I think I said West Memphis, West Memphis, Arkansas, and Memphis is right across the bridge. So the 3 teenage boys that were accused got caught up in that. Anyway, where I'm standing right now used to be called the Blue Beacon Truck Wash. I've seen every documentary made about this, every movie. I've been wanting to do this video for over 4 years, since I started YouTube. I'm finally here, and it's overwhelming. Completely overwhelming being here. But I'm going to do my best. So right here, this is where a truck wash used to be. And I've seen a lot of truck washes on my way, on my travels through the United States. It's essentially exactly what it sounds. Bring a truck in, you roll it down into a building, they wash your truck. Like that truck. And that one. You're going to see a million of them. And right here, see what we can see from here. This was an area called the Robin Hood Hills. And it used to be much more heavily forested than it is now. It looks like I'm not going to be able to get across there. I'm going to have to drive over there. I'll show you what I want to show you. But this was all forest. And there was a little ravine going right through there over to a drainage ditch that we're going to go over to. Now the ravine has been filled in. Teenagers came here, kids came here to play. The Devil's Den, they called it. Hard to see now, but it's probably about right there. And that's where 3 8-year-old boys were found murdered. This is in May of 1993. They were hog-tied, left hand to left foot, right hand to right foot, all 3 of them. And they were discovered the next day. It all happened right here. Stevie Branch, Chris Byers, Michael Moore. 3 innocent young men, brutally murdered, left naked, cold, drowned in the water, beaten, stabbed, drowned. And I'm going to take you over there. Right over there, there should be a drainage ditch still there with like a little sewer going across where their bikes were found. 2 of the bikes, because I believe the other boy was on a skateboard. You can still see a bit of water down in here, but not much. Let's take a drive over there and see if I can figure out how to get there, because right here a fence begins, but I might be able to get over there through the back way. Let me take a look. Heavily fenced on this side. This would have been, as you can see, I don't know if you can see, but the barbed wire is going that way. That would have been to keep people from coming onto the truck wash property. But now it's more of a deterrent to keep people out of what this former Robin Hood Hills right there. So now on the other side, and I believe if I just walk past this, directly there is where we just were. This should be the giant drainage area, and there should be a bridge still here, a small bridge, and that's where their bikes were found. But that used to be all forest, so the river where they were found was right there. And there's the bridge where their bikes were found. As you can imagine, when 3 young boys go missing in a small town like this, there's going to be search parties, people looking for them. One police officer responded to the call, wrote a report, left. Then she got another call about same officer responding to a man that had wandered into a restaurant at Bojangles, it's called, just over here, bloodied, muddied, wet, and went into the women's washroom and then left. Police officer responded to that call. She took a statement from the employees. She knew the boys were missing at this point. Took the statement from the employees through the drive-through window. Didn't get out of her car. The gentleman had just left on foot. She didn't go looking for him. He's a suspect. He's a big one. All the evidence at that scene was cleaned up. And what they could recover has now been lost to time. I'm going to take you to that restaurant now. It still stands. It's something else. But right here is where the crime is believed to have been committed. Some people think that they were killed somewhere else and then brought here. They were seen going into these woods on their bikes. They never came out. I personally think they were murdered down in here. Evidence and blood washed away in the water. That's my theory as to who did it. I think the person who wandered into the restaurant bloodied and muddied, because police came again to investigate later on after they had been down here investigating, and they were muddied, and one of the employees said a lot like his clothes looked a lot like yours, all muddied and wet. So there's plenty of suspects, and like I said, the families of the boys, I just drove you through the neighborhood here. This is their neighborhood. The families of the boys all, there's sketchiness involved. I'm not saying anything about them in terms of if they did anything, but you will dig deeper into this story. You'll read about the family members, some of the parents, and it's just nuts. And it's so sad. But I honestly feel like the victims, these 3 young boys, they're not remembered. I am going to take you to a memorial to them, though, that's in town, somewhere around here. But I feel like they're not remembered enough. The focus is always on the crime and the gruesomeness and the salaciousness and of who did it. But what about we want justice for them, yes, but what about Stevie, Christopher, and Michael? And it just breaks my heart. And it was right over here. So through those woods there, then across 2 major streets, through factories, if the person who killed those little boys came to this restaurant, this is it. This is the former Bojangles. I mean, the murders are suspected to have taken place sometime after 7 p.m. And they got the call about this man after 8. So the timeline adds up, but I just made the drive. It's a bit of it's a very different, unless you took streets. If you walk directly, it's almost directly that way, the crime scene. But there's fences and barbed wire. I'm assuming they're back then they were there too. And then there was buildings, like warehouses. You can see some right back there. I don't know. But this is the former Bojangles right here. And it looks like it's still closed up. And you can see the washrooms back there, the restrooms. But yeah, this place is empty, but came in here and went to those back restrooms and went into the ladies' restroom, the suspect. Wherever he is now, nobody knows. So this is the back of Weaver Elementary, and school's in session. So I'm not going to take any shots of the front of the building. This is the back of the building because there's a million kids. They're fascinated by my hair, which is really cute. But this is called the Weaver Reading Grove in memory of Steve Branch, Christopher Byers, Michael Moore. Do your best, Cub Scout motto, May 1993. Right here. It's right beside the playground, and I'm not going to turn to the left any more than I am because there are kids playing. But you can see it's a beautiful little grotto. The assistant principal, not vice principal, the assistant principal, just came out and met me as I was walking to my car way over there, and I was going to come back and do this after the kids came on. She came running out, said, "You walk fast? Here, why don't you come with me?" And she walked me over. Really, really sweet, everybody that works here. And yeah, this is heavy stuff. This is a little gazebo, a beautiful little memorial to the boys. And this is all this neighborhood is where they lived, all around here. I believe that's the junior high, and where they were tragically murdered was just over that way, not too far at all, walking distance, easily. This is a very small little area. So I'm going to start at the beginning and just give a brief overview of the case and what happened afterwards. It was May 5th, 93. The 3 boys were enjoying a warm spring afternoon. Stevie's mother, Pamela Hicks, said the last time she spoke to her son, he asked for permission to go bike riding with his friends. John Mark Byers, Christopher's stepfather, reported the boys missing to the West Memphis Police Department at approximately 8 p.m. The following day, authorities launched an extensive search in the area, Robin Hood Hills. Their bodies discovered in a drainage ditch. They were stripped naked and hog-tied with their own shoelaces, as I mentioned. Christopher's cause of death was from multiple injuries, and both Michael and Stevie died from multiple injuries with drowning. Christopher had a fractured skull, and his genitals had been mutilated, which authorities believed had been done by his killer, but also could have been the work of wild animals. Investigators soon zeroed in on an 18-year-old high school dropout named Damien Echols. He lived in a trailer park. He stood out in this small town. He liked to wear all black, listened to heavy metal music, watched horror movies, read science fiction, studied Wicca. His friend, Jessie Baldwin, who was 16, was also wrapped up in the investigation, and a third teenager, Jessie Misskelley Jr., also came under scrutiny. Misskelley was brought in for questioning on June 3, 1993. He was held for 12 hours, during which he waived his right to a lawyer and eventually confessed to being involved in the murders. Misskelley also implicated Echols and Baldwin as his co-conspirators, resulting in their arrests. His confession had numerous factual errors, though. In a later appeal, Misskelley argued he had an IQ of 72 and that his mental capacity rendered his confession involuntary. Although Jessie recanted his confession, it was enough evidence to convict him. He was sentenced to life in prison in February 1995. Jason and Damien went on trial a month later, and the prosecution argued they had murdered the boys in a satanic ritual. They were both found guilty on 3 counts of capital murder. Baldwin was given life without parole, while Echols was sentenced to death by lethal injection. The 3 young men appealed, and while the Arkansas State and U.S. Supreme Courts both repeatedly denied their appeals, a new batch of DNA testing done in 2007 showed no genetic material on the crime scene evidence was a match to Damien, Jessie, or Jason. In 2011, lawyers working for the 3 young men presented the new DNA test, which showed no link between them and the 1993 murders. Prosecutors then offered them a plea deal. They pled guilty to first and second-degree murder charges while proclaiming their innocence. They were released on August 19, 2011. No further arrests have been made in the murders of Stevie, Michael, and Christopher. Family members, other suspects, they've been ruled out of having anything to do with the killing of the 3 boys. To this day, it is still unclear who was responsible for the killings. And while the West Memphis Three are known as Damien, Jessie, and Jason, and I'm very happy for them that they're out, of course. Terrible. 18 years, wrongly convicted in prison. The real killer of these 3, or killers of these 3 little boys, is still out there, and I don't know what's being done. And I wish there was more being released about what's being done to find who did this. This is looking west towards the restaurant Bojangles. So as you can see, there's lots of buildings and fences. The murder location is about 200 yards from here, maybe not even. Towards that way. That's where the restaurant is. It's a very, very, when I think about it now, it's not that long of a walk. And that drainage ditch continues over here. You can see it there, where that bridge is. Goes all the way along. So what I've decided to do is come to each grave, and they're not One of them is listed to on Find a Grave exactly where in the cemetery the young boy is, but I don't. It takes you to a suburban section, so I know that that's wrong. So I'm having to get help from cemetery offices trying to find these graves. And the first one I'm stopping at is Michael Moore, and should be somewhere around here. I know he's down closer to the road here, so I'm going to take a look. And that didn't take long. Moore, James Michael, July 27th, 1984 to May 5th, 1993. Beloved son and brother, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. A lamb of Christ's flock. Here I am at Forest Hill Cemetery East, and Chris Byers' grave is, if you look on Find a Grave, it takes you into a suburb, so it's not correct. So I had to go in and ask, and they were very nice. What I thought was odd was when the lady came back with the information, she looked at me and she said, "Is this who I think it is?" And I said, "Yes." And she said, "Are you family?" And I said, "No." And she said, "Be nice, be nice." I said, "Of course." And then when she handed me the map and outlined where Chris is buried, she looked at me again really intently and said, "Be nice." And I said, "I have something to bring for him, of course." She said, "Okay." So I don't know what that means. I don't know if people come out here and do, I don't know. That's horrifying if that's the case. If people come out here and I don't know what. It's just the look on her face. She said 3 times, "Be nice," in a little southern accent. And I intend on being nice, and it's just over here, I think. So after much walking, finally found Melissa Byers, Christopher's mother. It says, "May she rest in peace, beloved mother of Christopher and Ryan, beloved daughter of Kilbourne and Doris." So I saw that, and then over here would be little Christopher. It says, "Christopher Mark, June 23rd, 1984, May 5th, 1993, a little lamb of God, Byers." Come in the front entrance right there, make a left. Right on the first lawn here is where Christopher is resting. So I'm about an hour north of West Memphis. Steele, Missouri is where I am. Mount Zion Cemetery. This is where little Stevie Branch is buried. And there's no information and there's no number to call. And it just has a picture on Find a Grave of what the grave looks like. It's somewhat big, it's gray, it's circular, and the cemetery is pretty big. But I'm going to drive all the way around and try to find it. The temperature has dropped significantly. It's okay. I know sort of what I'm looking for, but I mean, there's 1,000 graves here. Okay, I'm going to find it. I have to find it. Well, I'm walking through in and around the graves, and I've been walking and walking and walking. And driving and driving and driving. And as you can see, it's getting very dark. I've got my distance contacts in, but it's not looking like I'm going to be able to find. I know exactly what the grave looks like, but this is really sucks. Well, I failed. It's too dark now. Cemetery, although it's a small town cemetery, it's big. Yeah. I just don't know when I'm ever gonna make it back out here. It's the middle of the northeast corner of, I guess, something like that, Missouri, or southeast. Steele, Missouri. Mount Zion Cemetery. I didn't even show the entrance when I came in because I was so rushed. It took a long time to film everything. It was all in one day I did this. Can't see me now either, but that's okay. You don't need to see me. I'm sorry. And I'm sorry to Stevie. Got a card for him. I was going to leave it at a random grave or a grave of a child that I saw. But I'm going to hold on to it because I'm going to make it back one day so I can visit Stevie's grave as well. Yeah, I'm really upset. It's not about my failings or my depression. It's about Stevie and Chris and Michael. I just really, I thought, no problem. It's got to be a small town cemetery. Got to be somebody working maybe, or at least I'll just be able to find it fast. But the sun goes down fast, and I got to keep to a schedule. Rest in peace to the three boys, Stevie, Michael, and Chris. And sorry, I didn't get to visit Stevie's grave. I feared this would happen with one of the graves because they're not listed properly on Find a Grave, and that's not Find a Grave's fault. They can find every, you know what I mean? Like, they can tell you the cemetery but not pinpoint you. And I just thought, I've never not found a grave before. The only one I ever had really trouble with was Robert Kardashian. I had to go back twice in Inglewood, Los Angeles. I'll be back there soon enough, but Missouri, I don't know when. Rest in peace to the three boys. And that's the story of the West Memphis Three. These three boys. Thanks for watching. Peace out. It's a lot bigger than it looks, this cemetery. A lot bigger than it looked on the map, and a lot bigger just driving these roads. They just go on around and around, and I've been around and around. It's kind of cool though. You can see some lights on the graves lit up. It's a very well kept cemetery. But I'll be back. So, if you've stuck around this long, thank you, first of all. So, while I was here, I was walking around. I walked around for about 2 hours. Then I drove around with my car lights on because it was pitch dark. It was just, I couldn't see anything. But I couldn't leave. And then there was no data. But see that building there? That's the only building on the property. When I got to a hotel about 3 hours away later that night, I was very upset, very depressed that I didn't find Stevie's grave. I didn't know what I was going to do. I looked on Google Images, and of course there was a picture of Stevie's grave and it had that building in the background, which I circled around a million times. I don't know why. I didn't look at that before I came up here. I just assumed I would find his grave so easily. So for a year I've been waiting to come back out here. And what I thought I was going to do was maybe get a viewer who lived in the area to come out, or a friend that lives near. This is a small, tiny town, really far. And then I thought, no, I have to do it. I have to finish it myself. And I didn't know when I was ever going to get out here again. But I've made it. Steele, Missouri, population small, very small. Right beside the interstate there. I'm looking at that building. That was that stone there. That was in the background of the photo. And to my right, I haven't looked yet, but to my right should be Stevie. And yes, Stephen Edward Branch. November 26, 1984 to May 5th, 1993. If tears could build a stairway and memories a lane, I'd walk right up to heaven and bring you home again. So I was going to insert footage. I hope I inserted footage of me last time. It was very cold driving around. and around and around. And thank you to all of you who watch, because you inspire me to want to finish anything I start. And I do something, I want to do it complete and whole. And visiting Stevie's grave is very, very important to me. And I had to do it. And I've been thinking about it for a year. And when you think of it, it's just a little boy there, just a kid. So that's my video. Rest in peace, Stevie, Christopher, Michael, and whoever did it. If you're still out there, I hope you're not leading a happy life, and I hope you get caught. And as I've always said, I hope you go to prison. This is my own personal view. I hope you have to go to prison. I'm sure the family would want him sentenced to death, and I don't fault them for that at all. But I'd rather them go to prison and see that cell get smaller and smaller. That's what they do. Take away an inch every month, something, a year, whatever. So soon they just got a cot. That's it. A hole in the ground. Thank you for watching. All right. Peace out.